Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. I have a story here, and it's about feminism. And the question is the black community controlled by feminism? And this is the two sided truth podcast. With that being said, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to the Two Sided Truth Podcast, where we debate it, defend it, and you decide. A podcast where the facts are presented and you decide the winner. Our sponsors for this evening's podcast is the Flip Side with Lisa Tracy and Shy High Apparel. I'm so excited that you decided to join us this evening. Tonight, we have two debaters with opposing views, Gabrielle Miller and T. Khalid, debating on the topic, is the black community controlled by feminism? So, here are the rules of engagement. Our debaters have 4 subtopics / 4 rounds to debate, with an additional sparring round where our debaters get a chance to ask each other questions and respond. With the exception of the sparring round, each round is about 8 minutes long, which includes debaters laying out their arguments and presenting their facts, and then they will both have a chance to respond before moving to the next round. Yeah, she talking too low for me. As the viewer, I don't get the sound right. You will have a chance to vote on each round. So we also encourage you to make comments in the chat, but we ask that you are respectful with your comments. Our debaters really worked hard to present their facts and their topics to debate. So this message is for our debaters as well as our viewers. It's okay to be emotional and passionate, but we want you to be respectful. We are streaming live on Facebook. We're streaming live on YouTube. Okay, here we go. LinkedIn. However, you can only cast your vote on the twosidedtruth.com. So at the end of this debate, we will have a winner because you would have voted. So again, we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, what have you, but you can only cast your vote on the twosidedtruth.com. Okay, good. It's on. Again, that's the twosidedtruth.com. So with that said, let's begin. All right. We have with us today, we have Gabrielle Miller, and we also have T. Khalid. Hello, debaters. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm really super excited about you all joining and being diligent with researching the topic. So before we get started, I want Gabrielle to introduce herself and what position in the debate you are on, and just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle. I am on the side that black feminism is not impacting the black community, and I live in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. And T. Khalid, introduce yourself. What's your position in terms of the debate? And tell the viewers a little about yourself as well.
Yes, I'm T. Khalid. I'm on the side that black feminism is impacting the black community in many different areas. And I'm really into just politics in general, just media, what's going on in America, because I do see how what's going on at the top is definitely affecting people at the bottom, and the genders of that nature. So that's usually the type of stuff that I'm into.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So before we begin, I want to remind our viewing audience, remember, your job is to go to the twosidedtruth.com and vote. Polls will be open in a few minutes. You are only allowed to vote once without subscribing, okay, or being signed in. However, subscriptions are free. We love free 99, right? They're free. So don't forget to subscribe to the twosidedtruth.com. And so before we begin our topic, I'll just lay out a little bit of historical relevance. Before we debate whether the black community is controlled by feminism, we need to clarify what we mean by control, influence, and history. The Black community has evolved through major social, economic, and political shifts: slavery, Reconstruction, segregation, migration patterns, industrial change, civil rights legislation, mass incarceration, educational reform, all shape family structure, leadership dynamics, and gender roles. During different eras, Black men and Black women occupied changing economic social positions. Workforce participation, marriage rates, and educational attainment and income levels have fluctuated across generations. At the same time, feminist thought, including Black feminist thought, developed and gained visibility through the 20th century, particularly during the 1960s and 1970s. Those ideas introduced new language around equality, autonomy, leadership, and power within both society and the home. So just to give a brief history, in the 1800s, the early foundations of feminism were found. 1830s to 1860s, abolition and women's rights intersect. Late 1800s to early 1900s, organized Black women's leadership like the National Association of Colored Women forms under the motto "Lifting as we Climb." Black women organized schools, mutual aid societies, political networks. 1920s, women's suffrage. 1970s, birth of organized feminism. 1989, intersexuality. 1990s to 2000s, cultural shift and gender narratives. And 2010, present day social media, feminism, and digital era. Some argue those ideas strengthen the community by expanding opportunity and voice. Others argue those ideas reshape internal dynamics in ways that alter traditional structures and expectations. Both perspectives point to real historical trends. So tonight's debate is not about whether change happened. Change clearly happened. The question is how we interpret that change. Did feminist ideology primarily expand agency and protection within the Black community, or did it shift cultural norms in ways that redefine authority, partnership, and influence? So our first subtopic round for tonight is going to go to Gabrielle first. The first subtopic is historical roots. Has feminism been a liberating force or a divisive influence in the Black community? Gabriella, you have 2 minutes.
So since feminism is the advocacy for political, economic, and personal and social equity of the sexes, Black feminism emerged because white feminism ignored those racial realities. And Black feminism has always been a liberating force in the Black community because it does not divide the struggle, it deepens it through the inclusion. Black women were and are central to Black liberation movements. Organizers like Ella Baker shaped those grassroots strategies that we have today, and leaders like Angela Davis connected race, class, prisons, and gender into one social structural critique. The Combahee River Collective made clear that freeing Black women required dismantling racism, capitalism, and patriarchy, the same systems that also constrain Black men. Black feminism does not attack Black men, it just challenges the hierarchy and state systems that harm the community as a whole. When Black feminists fight mass incarceration, economic exclusion, or being marginalized in political spaces, Black men and the entire community benefits directly. Expanding that leadership to include Black women does not erase men, and addressing sexism inside specific movements also doesn't harm the inherent community. Maintaining the status quo and being silent does not equate to unity, and addressing sexism prevents resentment and ultimately strengthens the whole community.
Okay. Thank you so much. You beat your time.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Same question. Historical roots. Has feminism been a liberating force or a divisive influence in the Black community? Tariq, it is your time.
No, I definitely believe it has been a divisive force, and we just got to break these words down. Before I just go into the history, we talk about patriarchy, which is pretty much men ruling. But one has to understand, if you're going to question patriarchy, if patriarchy is a problem, then you're going to have an example where a matriarchy in history shows that it performs better than a patriarchy. And in the black community, you simply cannot see that. And I can just give like prime examples, and we can just take a look. Like if you look at like, just take for example like group fights in like apartments, right, where you see a bunch of children outside. You don't see any men out there snatching their children in. What do you see? You see a bunch of women and their kids out there. There's no male leadership anywhere in our communities. I also want to talk about how if we look at before in the 1960s, actually before the 1960s, how the black family was intact. We only had 20%
Right.
to 20 to 25% single motherhood.
Right.
If we fast forward now into the current day, we got 72% single motherhood. And that comes with a whole host of issues that we're going to also go into.
No, that comes from two main issues. It comes from feminism, and it comes from welfare. It's why the single mother rate is so high. It's due to feminism and welfare. Let's continue.
Also, when it comes to the unity aspect of black men and women, we can see what feminism does is very hostile towards black men. I'm just going to give some prime examples. There was an article written by a feminist, and let's keep in mind, feminists can be men and women, Damon Young, which said black men are the white men of black people, and pretty much saying that black men need to address their sexism and misogyny. These type of statements that are made towards black men, not only in the media, but in written publication, causes a friction, and it separates black people. And once again, we'll go into that more.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. The polls are open, you all. The polls are open for this topic. You can only vote on the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com. You can vote once without being signed in or subscribed, but in order to vote on all topics, you have to be subscribed. And guess what? It's free to subscribe. So come on over to the twosidedtruth.com and vote. All right. Gabrielle, would you like to counter?
Yes, I would. So I just want to know, like, what exactly do you mean by matriarchy? Because I feel like when most people are using matriarchy, they mean, like, women dominating men the same way that patriarchy does for women. But historically, like, that's not what black feminism is. Black feminism argues for the equity of people, not, like, women ruling men. And so if your counter is saying that 72%...
Lies. The only reason feminism exists is to try and make men bow down to women. And that's the only reason feminism exists.
Of how single mothers are, or households have single mothers, then what is that really saying about men? Because that means that the women are showing up for their children, for the things that they have provided for, and that they're taking responsibility for. So then, in essence, feminism is doing its part of that, but black men are not equally also having their part as well, too. So, and there are definitely many historical cultures, like the Iroquois Confederacy, that's a matriarchy. There's countries in West Africa that have matriarchies. The Minangkabau in Indonesia is a matriarchy society that's probably one of the longest standing matriarchies that are there. So, like, they exist in the world and they're very successful, but we just don't have that opportunity to showcase here. And I think also just like biologically, like, women are the people who give birth to children, so it kind of makes sense that women should be the people in control because they're the people who can continue on a bloodline.
Well, here's the issue.
Before you go, I just want to let people know the polls are open. You can only vote on the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com. Okay, are you done, Gabrielle?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, T, you have all of 2 minutes.
Well, here's the problem I have with modern contemporary feminism, and just goes to show what you were saying about black men not showing up. The issue I have with feminism is they don't have a gender difference. The feminism attempts to say that men and women are exactly the same.
And they're not.
There's no inherently biological differences. There's no, everything that men and women do differently is due to social constructs.
Bingo.
So let's put this into perspective here. Women sleeping around is a lot more detrimental than men sleeping around. Now,
Talk
this is
about
an
it.
issue for feminists, but there's a biological reasoning for
Talk
that.
about it.
The reason being is that women are the childbearers. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot be promiscuous because if they're promiscuous and they sleep with a lot of men, they don't know who their child's father is. Okay? The same thing does not exist for black men. So when you say that black men aren't showing up, which I definitely understand, we can definitely go into the family system. One has to understand it because feminists don't see themselves as different from men and think there's nothing wrong with female promiscuity, then they don't have the accountability to actually review the men that they're having sexual experiences with. Okay, this is causing them to make a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
Getting pregnant with the wrong men, and the men are abandoning them. So this is the problem I have with feminism. There's just no gender differences, and we're even seeing now where men are now being allowed in female sports, beating women in track, having a say in women's spaces because they think they are women. This is the main problem I have. And just to go on what you said about West Africa and these matriarchal nations, we do understand that the only reason why a matriarchal system can exist in those nations is because the men allow it. And it's the men that's really the ones that is holding feminism.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, the polls are open for probably about a minute or two. The polls are open on this topic probably for about another minute or two. I do have some questions. And you'll have 30 seconds to answer these. Gabrielle, where is the line between holding men accountable and turning black men into the main villain of the story?
I don't think holding men accountable is making anyone a villain. And I don't think saying that black women deserve to have equality for racial, financial, and economic ways is saying that black men are inherently less than in any capacity. Like, I don't think men and women are created equal. They all have, a man can't bear a child, but a woman can. So I'm not saying that men and women are equal, even biologically, but I mean, like, women should be able to hold men accountable and also expand themselves as well, too.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. All right, T, next question. If feminism is divisive, why did black women repeatedly form their own organizations after being ignored in both movements?
So in my opinion, I do believe that black women, and I'm not a black woman, but I do believe that they have certain issues that is not being addressed by contemporary white feminism, and that could be significant due to our history. So it could be, childbearing issues, health issues, social and economic issues that I do believe that white feminism isn't addressing. But still, I do think.
Be back in a second.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Well, the polls are still open. I just have a few more questions in this round. The polls are still open. You can only vote on the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com. All right, Gabrielle. Does feminism build community outcomes, or does it mainly build critique and commentary?
I think feminism definitely builds outcomes, because when you have women who are created equal, and not created equal in the sense of like biology is the same, but I can go and get the same job that a man gets and gets paid the exact same thing, that can't help but to stabilize our entire families. That can't help but to have our children grow up and to think like, oh, my mom can do this and my dad did it too. Like, that's amazing. So I think that is something.
Thank you for that. All right, last question on this round, and the polls will be closing in all of 30 seconds. Last question for this round. If you'd like to vote, the two-sided truth.com. I'm talking about the flip side with Lisa Tracy, which is our newsletter, but the two-sided truth.com is where you need to be. T, are you criticizing feminism or criticizing how some people use it? Because historically, Black women activism predates social media arguments. 30 seconds.
No, I am criticizing feminism because it does, when they talk about toxic masculinity and they specifically use the word masculinity, they're going after certain biological male traits such as leadership, being stoic. Feminists like to say, men don't get to cry. Well, there's a reason why men don't cry. The reason why men don't cry is because men often go to war. We have a lot of enemies, and these things are used against us. So men are used the soldier class of okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right, you got to be quick with that 30 seconds. You'll have time in the sparring round to go even further in our last round. All right. So we are moving to the next topic. We are moving to the next subtopic. The polls will be closing for this subtopic in like 20 seconds. So some argue, moving forward. So in terms of the next subtopic, historically, Black families have operated under economic conditions that made rigid gender roles difficult to sustain. Today, marriage rates among Black adults are lower than other groups, and nearly half of Black children live in single-parent households. Those are statistical realities. Some argue feminism supports women navigating these realities with strength and autonomy. Others argue that cultural messaging and around independence may reduce emphasis on interdependent long-term partnership. The issue is not whether interdependence is good or bad. The issue is how independence and interdependence coexist. Subtopic 2, this is for you, Tariq. Family structure and gender roles. Has feminism strengthened or destabilized the traditional Black family structure? And before you begin, I just want to let everyone know that the polls are closing and opening for this next subtopic. You can only vote on the two-sidedtruth.com, the two-sidedtruth.com. You can only vote once if you're not signed in or if you're not subscribed. Subscriptions are free, so subscribe so you can vote multiple times for within this particular debate. All right, so I'll repeat that. Family structure and roles. Has feminism strengthened or destabilized the traditional Black family structure?
Well, when you look at modern and contemporary feminism, it's all about women empowerment, women going through their 20s and their 30s to pursue career. Nothing in modern feminism talks about the family structure.
It doesn't.
Married, or
Facts.
even if a
the modern family structure is never talked about.
In the family structure, there are no gender roles. So if there are no gender roles, and you got two people getting together, it's they're just winging it right now. And to me, I think that's a major reason why a lot of divorces
gender roles exist for a reason
are happening within the Black community. And these are not concepts that Black people came up with, because like I said before, pre-1960s, we had a single motherhood of 20%. Now it's 72%. And one has to understand is this, especially when it comes to a woman's biological time clock, which is, I think, ages around 35. When you have, and I don't like using this word, but I'm going to use it for this conversation. We like to talk about white supremacy a lot in the Black community. Well, one has to say, what is the most beneficial thing to white supremacy when you can get the Black man and Black woman to not even know their roles in a relationship, and then when they get together, the man doesn't know how to be masculine, and the woman doesn't know how to be feminine. They have kids out of wedlock. We have a culture, especially in our rap media culture, that is not controlled by Black people, that tells women, Black women, and all Black women heard this: if you are single and independent and don't need no man, raise your hand. that is incredibly destructive to the black community. And that also tells the black man, wow, these women are so strong, so independent. I don't even need them to be around to raise the kids. And guess what? I saw my mother do it alone, so I'm gonna do it alone too. I'm just gonna leave.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tariq. All right. The polls are open. The polls are open for this subtopic. Gabriella, please lay out your argument. I'll repeat. Family structure and gender roles. Has feminism strengthened or destabilized the traditional family structure?
Feminism did not destabilize the black family. Structural racism, economic exclusion, and mass incarceration did. Black families have been historically disrupted by slavery, specific laws like Jim Crow, and redlining and labor discrimination well before even like this law.
Hold on. Even though she is right, you got to add what welfare and feminism in that mess too. You got to add welfare and feminism in that mess as well.
Feminist ideology has even gained any type of traction. Black women have consistently worked at high rates out of necessity. Feminist advocacy for equal pay, workplace protections, and education strengthened households by increasing economic stability and reducing vulnerability not only for themselves as women but for those children. Financial independence does not equal hostility towards men. It reduces the pressure on men to carry unrealistic provider expectations.
It doesn't equal hostility, but some women use that as an excuse to disrespect men. You got to acknowledge that.
In a labor market that is not beneficial or that is not created for black men and women. If a family structure depends on one partner's silence or dependency, it is fragile already. Partnership that's built on shared responsibility has to be more stable than something that's built on an economic imbalance.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. All right. T, would you like to counter?
Yeah, I just want to ask, are women hypergamous? Do women date below someone on equal status or higher?
There you go.
Just want to ask.
I mean, I think that's a specific question to each woman, right? Like, I think every woman is there. But I would also say that black women have, in the black community, black women who are college graduates and educated are far greater than black men. So she is,
You didn't answer his question, man. The question was a yes or no question.
That is something that she's like, if you're trying to find someone who's on equal footing as you, then you would have to either date outside of your race because black men are not as educated as them, or you would be alone.
No, because the reason why I asked...
I gotta pause this. Black women. For y'all are not the most educated. The most educated group of folks are the Asians. Men and women. Okay? Y'all are the most enrolled, not the most educated. So stop that.
The question, because you just said that when women work, that takes the burden off of the man. But the issue is most women want to be hypergamous, meaning they date men of higher status than them. And also, most times when women are the breadwinners, the marriage doesn't really work.
It don't work.
So the issue I'm having is, if what you're saying is true, then, women are often saying they want men to protect and provide for them. It's very rarely that you see women saying they want to do 50-50. A lot of women to this modern day are not talking about 50-50.
They're not.
Okay. In fact, when women makes more money, like I'm going to give you an example. When you see celebrity women, for example, they're usually dating men of that status or higher. So when you say take the economic burden off men, I don't believe it does. In fact, I think the more money a woman makes, the harder it is for her to date, because the majority of men, unfortunately, are not up in that highest echelon of what she's looking for. Like a woman who's like making $100,000 a year, 9 times out of 10 is not going to date a man who's making $50,000 a year. But a man
They
making
won't.
$100,000 a year definitely will date a woman who's making $50,000 a year.
Okay.
Mm.
You're done? All right. Gabrielle, would you like to counter?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure how, like, I mean, if black women are more educated, and someone said in the comments that black men make more money than black women, which is true by default, because if you follow a pyramid of men inherently still make more money than women in general. So a white man is still going to make more money than a white woman.
Right.
So a black man should follow that they would make more money than a black woman, given that we're in a patriarchal society. But there are lots of women that are dating men. If 72% of single households are single mothers, then that means that whoever they're probably going to end up dating is probably going to make less money than them, or it's probably not going to be more money than them, right? And so if men don't have any problem dating a woman who's making $50,000, but they have a problem dating a woman who's making $150,000, that says more about a man than it does about a woman. And so if a woman wants to find the equal footing of a man who's as educated as she is, then that's it. But there's a lot of single black women who aren't dating anyone because they don't have anyone on their level, and they want to date someone in the black community, but they're not telling her. Like, there's nobody else there that she can have an equivalent to.
Yeah, so the question is, so that's what I'm saying. Feminism does not address that at all. In fact, feminism encourages women to be more hypergamy. Now that women are in the marketplace, and there are a lot of institutions that really work to help out women. Like, if you look at the Black Girl Magic, this stuff is funded by Amazon, Microsoft, big institutions. These institutions specifically target black women, and the thing is, like I said, in a relationship, how does that work if the woman is making more money? The feminists, to me, they're not addressing the importance of a man being in relationships. It's just pushing women towards a career. But like you said, if she's making so much money, she cannot find a man in her economic status.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, I just want to let you guys know the polls are open for this subtopic. You can only vote. We're streaming live. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on LinkedIn. We're streaming on YouTube. But you can only vote on the twosidedtruth.com. And you can only vote once without subscribing or signing in. But you can vote multiple times. You can vote each round if you subscribe. And guess what? Subscriptions are free 99. So don't forget to subscribe so you can vote as many times as you like in these rounds. All right, I have some questions here. All right, so T, question for you for 30 seconds. If almost half of black children are in one-parent homes, what is your plan that does not include women's empowerment and protection?
Oh man, that's a big one. The plan is really, if you want the black homes to be stable, especially economically, I think we do have to improve the socio-economic conditions of black people, especially black men. And I know people say we live in a patriarchal society, but typically the more money a man wants, he typically wants to settle down and have a family. One cannot say the same thing when women make more money. They're not making money to settle.
Sorry. You can say that in our sparring round. So save all your good questions and good dialogue for our sparring round if you don't get it in right now. Okay. Again, the polls are open, the twosidedtruth.com. All right, Gabrielle, 30 seconds. If feminism is about equality, why do so many men say they feel like they are being trained to be helpful and not respected?
I think that's because that's the way society has trained them to be. That women are inherently taught to be helpful, taught to be caring, taught to be empathetic. But men are not necessarily taught that. They're just kind of told to just grow up and be boys, and your wife will do things for you and your mom does things for you. And so when women are holding men accountable for things that they have never had to be held accountable for, it feels uncomfortable. It feels like they're required to do something that they have not had to do before.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, T. I was waiting to see if the bomb was going to explode. All right. I just want to let people know the polls are still open on this subtopic. All right, T. If feminism didn't exist, what exact force would have protected Black women from unequal labor expectations inside the home?
Well, that's a great question. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. This may be controversial, but if you look at foreign countries like Saudi Arabia, and I'm not saying we're ever gonna go back to a system like that, but generally speaking, the man is the one that's working and taking care of his family. What that does is that does create an incentive for men to be more ambitious, because a lot of these times, especially in these cultures, men cannot be married to women in these cultures if they're not ambitious, if they're not doing things.
Thank you. Sorry, T. I know you got a lot to say. All right, last question for Gabrielle. Gabrielle, can you admit to any feminist messaging that has discouraged marriage or made partnership feel optional rather than valuable? 30 seconds.
I think there's definitely messaging that women have the ability to make their own choices. And so being able to feel like you have a choice in the matter of being married versus having to be married out of necessity probably seems like it's not, that marriage isn't being pushed. But I think most women, if you ask them, they would like to be married, but they want to have a partner who wants to really be a partner and not just someone who brings home stuff, brings home money, and then does nothing else out of it.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. Girl, you got saying you almost got the bomb. All right. This subtopic will be closing in like a few seconds. Don't forget to vote. We are streaming live on all platforms, but you can only vote on the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com, and don't forget to subscribe. Subscriptions are free. Therefore, you can vote in every round if you subscribe. All right. In recent decades, Black women have surpassed Black men in college degree attainment. Median earnings data show Black women closing gaps relative to Black men. One interpretation is that women's educational gains strengthen overall community resilience. Another interpretation is that rapid shifts in educational and economic power can alter relationship dynamics and expectations in ways that create tension. This is not simply about income. It is about identity, value, and influence. So, Gabriella, you are up for round 3 first. The question is, economic power and education gap. Has the rise of Black women educationally and economically shifted community power dynamics? And with that being said, the polls are open for this subtopic. And Gabriella, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Also, I wrote all these answers down before, and they're my own. They're not AI, but thank you. So the educational and economic rise of Black women is a community asset, and it's not a force that destabilizes the community as a whole. Black women's college enrollment and degree attainment have increased significantly, but that advancement reflects adaptation to specific barriers that we've had to overcome, not in competition with Black men. The same systems that produce the school discipline disparities or not being able to be included in the labor market and the incarceration of Black men are also critiqued within the same networks that Black feminists are part of. Economic mobility by Black women increases household income and also intergenerational wealth and overall community stability. If masculinity that's traditionally defined solely by income dominance, then that will feel threatening when a woman has that same equal footing. But true healthy power dynamics are built on cooperation and not necessarily having a level of hierarchy. advancement of Black women does not mean that Black men are fighting for a level of scarcity in that foundation.
Thank you so much for that. All right. T, same question. And before you go, the polls are open for this subtopic. Please go ahead and vote at the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com. Don't forget to subscribe to us so that you can vote in each round. Economic empowerment and education gap. Has the rise of Black women educationally and economically shifted community power dynamics? T, you're up.
I would say absolutely, and I would say by design at the destruction of the Black family, because like I said before, the more educated and more money a woman makes, and that's fine. I'm not jealous about that, but the harder her dating life gets because she cannot find a man of equal stature, and also it affects us politically as well. As you see more Black women making more money and getting involved in the political system. And I'm just going to give an example. When we look at the Democrat Party, they don't speak in a way where it's geared towards the advancement of Black men and women. They're solely only speaking towards Black
towards the women.
A lot of times they hire a lot of Black women to represent them. I'm going to give a prime example of some disrespect too as well. When you look at Simone Sanders, I believe she was Biden's campaign manager. She helped out in Biden's campaign in 2019. Uncle Luke stated, in regards to Kamala Harris, I believe she was running for vice president at the time. And, Kamala Harris was saying things like, she's not going to do anything specifically for the Black community.
She did say that.
Like, well, how do you expect Black people to vote for you when you're not going to do anything for us? And then here comes Simone Sanders, and here's the problem I have with feminism. It just makes our community look divisive. Here she comes and says, why do we need to hear a Black man's unsolicited opinion on political matters? Now, just think about how huge that is. It's very emasculating and it's very detrimental, but she knows that she can speak that way. Why? Because Black men have no power dynamic. The Democrats are pushing Black women into their party and while ignoring the Black man. So it does create a separation. It has companies focused strictly on Black women, like Black Women Rising, a community group started by Facebook Threads to support Black women, hire Black,
All right, thank you for that, Tariq. Gabrielle, would you like to counter?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you say that, but I think the thing that's missing there is that Black women are starting a lot of these movements. Black women are creating a lot of things that are happening. And so I'm asking, for critiquing that Black women are positioning themselves and putting themselves in spaces and places where they are now being considered or they are now being thought about, which is great. But you're negating that where are the Black men's groups that are doing that? Where are all of these things, right? We know that Black women are more educated, so why are Black men not out educating Black women, right? What's your goal here of kind of critiquing Black women into doing certain things, right? There's no harm in anyone being more educated, right? Black people in general should be more educated, and Black women specifically, because they are going to be the people who are raising your children. So those people should be educated. They should have the power to be able to do that. And economically, why would you not want to have households have more income together, right? And assuming that if you die, right, your partner dies.
It's hard to have more income when the feminist women do not want to work with men. A lot of y'all modern women and a lot of y'all feminists do not want, number one, do not want to work with men, and number two, y'all don't even respect men. So what's the point? Y'all don't even respect men.
They still should have an ability to maintain a lifestyle or support themselves or to carry on without relying on just the ability to find another man to marry instead of being able to handle those things on their own.
Are you done?
Yeah.
All right. Tariq, would you like to counter? T, would you like to counter?
Yeah, I would say it's not just black men in general. I just think it's men in general. Women are, yes, getting out educated and being the majority of colleges. And this is, to me, is the a feminism push. I believe society is I call it overcorrecting. There are a lot of programs, we look at STEM, things like that, focusing on women and girls, giving them scholarships to kind of just to kind of balance out the genders. Because yes, prior to the past, men were the majority educated, men were the majority in college, and also hiring. There are quotas in hiring. If you don't have enough women being hired to a certain company, that company can't get sued. So there are a lot of initiatives that's aimed towards women while ignoring men. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying society should also focus on the young men and what the young male needs. And I'll just give you an example. Men and women do have different learning habits. When you go to school in elementary school, young men, young boys they just can't sit still and listen to a teacher and hear her talk. That is more of that's how women learn. Young women can sit down and learn. Boys are more active, but our school systems aren't built towards that to cater to how young boys are. Also, there just aren't enough male teachers. The majority of teachers are women, so the majority of teachers don't even know how to handle young males. There's a large epidemic of young men being put on, Ritalin, these psychotropic drugs because they're just too wild when they're just being young boys. And I'm just saying a society is not addressing that. I think it's by design. I think this country is pushing feminism for the reason to weaken the male and masculize the women, which does cause gender divides. It causes the marriage rates to go down. It causes single motherhood to go up. And also when you look at college campuses, we don't even have free debate no more because it's 7
Thank you so much. All right. So, with that being said,
I want to say this too: the free debate is killed on college campuses due to two things. It's due to Turning Point, and it's due to feminism. And that's why free debate on college campuses don't exist.
I have a few questions. And before I start with my questions, I just want to let everyone know the polls are open for this subtopic and we'll be closing in a few minutes. Don't forget to vote at the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com, where you can vote on all topics if you subscribe. And subscriptions are free. Free 99 is what we love. All right, Gabrielle, I have a question for you. If men are falling behind in labor force participation, where is the feminist agenda for black boys and men that does not sound like blame? 30 seconds.
I think in the feminist movement, it's still about lifting others up as well, so that there's an equal footing, right? So having the ability to have young boys and do well in school, focus on reading, on learning, on what that looks like, so then that way they can have the ability to go and get into the workforce.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. All right. Tariq, question for you. Is it feminism or is it simply math? Whoever has leverage in education and income often shapes the agenda, right?
I would say, yeah, that's true, but the reason why I'm putting a lot of this on feminism is, like I said, there seems to be an overcorrection of our society focusing on women, hiring initiatives focusing strictly on women, and also, we say the magical word DEI, but that stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And unfortunately, when it comes to men, we aren't a part of that DEI structure. It's usually, women of color, people that falls in the line between the LGBT portion, which is fine, but the whole heterosexual male is not included in that. Feminism does not address that, and
it never will.
The main reason why feminism is created, and it creates a whole other broad issues of social issues, but
Thank you for that. Gabrielle, 30 seconds. How do you build a community when one gender increasingly feels unnecessary and economically and socially? 30 seconds.
I think it's understanding that both sides are looking for the same thing, right? Like Black women have the unique understanding of being racially and gender at a sub level compared to like white men. So I think we have a unique perspective of being able to relate to Black men in a capacity that has not been historically nice to us. I think if we can work together and say that we're really all still want the same thing instead of being so divisive, then we can make that happen.
Thank you so much. All right. The polls are open and we'll be closing in a few minutes for this topic. I wanted to go and just read a few comments from our listening audience. Scott says that the matriarchy is a proven failed construct. Feminism is a curse that rejects God's order within the family and the community. EO says, structural says women are only able to do and be the things that they can be is due to men. So he's saying women are able to do and be the things that they can be because of men. And he also says women have more degrees and the most debt. Spending $70,000 on schools to get a $50,000 job doesn't make much sense. So these are some of the comments that we are seeing in the comment section. All right, we are moving along to our fourth round. And I made a mistake in my background and pushed the fourth round subtopic. So I'm just going to leave that open because as long as you vote. Okay, so the fourth round for the subtopic is modern dating culture includes conversations about boundaries, standards, emotional labor, and gender expectations. Some see this as healthy evolution. Others see it as increased negotiation and distrust between men and women. The question is not whether standards should exist. The question is whether current cultural narratives foster cooperation and competition. So the subtopic for the fourth round is dating culture and relationship expectations. Has modern feminist ideology reshaped Black dating culture for better or for worse? And I believe it is it Gabrielle that goes to, let me see. Gabrielle went first. Gabrielle, it's T. T, this is your question. Dating culture and relationship expectations. Has modern feminist ideology reshaped Black dating culture for better or worse? And the polls are open.
Yeah, so, we do
2 minutes.
So the issue I have with feminism, once again, it does not discuss gender differences, and this is especially when it comes to sex. Feminism tells women, you can have a sex with as many men as you want. You are free. You shouldn't be judged. Don't let no one call you the H word. Now, counter to that, I want feminists to know how beneficial that is to men, because men would usually have to court a woman, be a good guy, be financially stable. He needs to be the man to be able to take care of himself and the family before he wins that woman over. But if there's no gender differences and there's no shame and women are being promiscuous, it doesn't also encourage the man to be the best man that he can be for a woman. So he's also, because he's used to the promiscuous society of women, he's going to also try to have sex with the woman as fast as he can. So you can see that that's also increasing the single motherhood epidemic. And the issue with the single motherhood epidemic, especially when it comes to boys, when boys are raised by single mothers, they are more likely to commit crimes, more likely to go to jail, more likely to be socially awkward and have mental issues. Women raised by single mothers are more likely to experience teen pregnancy. They are more likely, unfortunately, to be SA'd at a young age because there's no father in the home. And this is the issue that I'm having with feminism. If you don't establish gender differences, being the man's role is to protect and provide, and the woman is to support, and you flip that to women, or you say that women are seeing, then the black man, I don't see how he's going to take a woman seriously. You know, he's just going to move in his lower nature, and that's not conducive to relations or family.
Thank you so much. Gabrielle, same question, 2 minutes. Dating culture and relationship expectations. Has modern feminist ideology reshaped black dating culture for better or worse?
Yeah, I think it definitely has shaped it for the better. I think T's argument is a very elementary one that relies on things of the past, of saying like women are only here for basically breeding and sex. But I think the new modern feminist movement has created, is being created to hold men more accountable, to have more emotional maturity, stability, understanding consent, and having an understanding of shared labor. Historically, women in general, but black women specifically, carried a disproportionate amount of emotional and economic burdens within all types of relationships. I mean, you even said it, like the single mothers, but that doesn't account for where the men are who are also participating in this as well. The discourse within the feminist community has more normalized setting boundaries, going to therapy, increasing communication in ways that actually do benefit both partners. While social media has probably exaggerated some social norms and expectations, I really truly believe that it's black women and black feminists specifically have really taken a turn to be more introspective and to look at what they need to do in order to better themselves, to be better partners, and to be better individuals. And in my experience and understanding is that black men don't have that same introspective relationship to see what they could do to be better partners, how they could communicate better. They just rely back on, I'm a man, or I make a certain amount of money, or this is what I'm expected to do, or women shouldn't be able to do this. And it's focusing on what women are doing and not necessarily what men are doing. So I definitely think women, the modern feminist is holding them to a higher standard.
Thank you so much. Tariq, would you like to counter?
Yeah, it's just that, you know, you said men don't hold each other accountable. I would say, you know, the dangerous word patriarchy. You know, before the feminist movement, absolutely, men were absolutely held to high standards. First of all, we had more two-parent homes. So in order for me to even court a woman or even
feminism killed it.
I have to get through her dad. Her dad is going to have to analyze my lifestyle. So that's her dad holding me accountable as a man, seeing if I make enough money for her. Can I protect his daughter before he releases his daughter to me? So, you know, I don't, you know, without the patriarchy, you know, I don't understand how men would hold each other accountable. And also, if we got a 72% single motherhood in our community, if young boys aren't even seeing their mothers with husbands or in stable relationships, I just don't understand how are they supposed to just know what to do. Or even a young woman, how is she supposed to just know what to do while at the same time we're pushing a single, you know, empowerment woman movement where go get the money, go get the bag, but it's not centered around black families. And I'm just trying to see how you can square that without the patriarchy to lead in that.
Okay, thank you for that. Gabrielle, would you like to counter?
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I'm just waiting for the calculator. I mean, it just sounds like you're blaming women for the lack of men's ability to have their own actions. Like, men are autonomous creatures. They can do whatever they want outside of that of a woman. So to sit here and say 72%, again, we go back to this 72% of homes are single moms, but the moms are in the home, so where are the dads? Where is their responsibility at, right? And men are their own people. You don't have to rely on a woman to do many things. And then your first argument was talking about in the patriarchy, which we still exist in, that A man had to go ask another man for permission for his daughter, and that just sounds like property. Like a woman had no autonomy. Higher marriage rates does not mean better, successful relationship.
And of course, there goes the victimhood statement.
It does not mean happier, healthier kids. It does not necessarily inherently mean all of those things because people are married longer and stuck it out. But some of those women are miserable. Some of those kids grew up to be also terrible, and they saw horrible relationships where their parents, where their dad was beating on their mom, but just because she didn't leave, that doesn't all of a sudden be like, they were married for 50 years, good job. Like, she didn't have a choice, and now we have...
And why is this chick going to the extreme?
Choices. Women have choices to pick better partners, to pick people who understand what life really entails instead of just demanding that, oh, this man financially provides for me and can protect me, but what else are you doing? You're not child rearing. You're not having communications. You don't know how to control or manage your anger. You don't want to educate yourself. You don't want to go to therapy. You don't want to do all of these things, but you still want to blame a woman for everything that goes wrong at any given point in time, which doesn't really make sense, right? Again, 72% of women are single parents, but those are the people who are there, right? It's women who are in the homes. And Black feminism is trying to create the situations for, if I'm going to be a single mom, that I should make the same amount of money, I should have the same equal voting rights, and I should...
First off, Black feminism was never supposed to exist. What was supposed to exist is black families building together. And that's what's supposed to exist.
The same types of things to be able to provide for my household that this man is not in at. I think I'm probably over the time because the counter stopped.
The counter stopped. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay. All right. We got a question here from our audience. So Stephanie says, what is the solution? Should Black women relinquish their economic standing, education, etc. to accommodate this fragility that we're hearing? I mean, the solution would be for Black men overall to rise to the occasion. What is stopping Black men? T, you want to answer that? 30 seconds.
Well, there's nothing stopping Black men from rising to the occasion. It's just, Black men, just take, for example, a successful Black man worked hard his life. We haven't really touched in the masculine and feminine, but Black men, what women don't understand is that we don't see relationships like how women see relationships. We're not looking for a partner who makes equal or more to us. That's not the traits that we care about. We don't care how many college degrees you have. Generally speaking, and unfortunately, women who usually are CEOs of companies, this has a lot of masculine tendencies that make relationships fail.
Okay, thank you so much for that. All right, you guys, I have a few questions before we move to our debate or die round, which you can actually vote because I kind of screwed up the last topic, the third topic in terms of voting. All right, so, this is for Gabrielle. Do you think feminist content has normalized contempt towards men? 30 seconds.
I don't think it's normalized contempt towards men, but I think contempt can feel, I think accountability, if you're not used to it, can feel very uncomfortable. And so if women are holding men to higher standards and they're talking about what they are looking for and what they're requiring from someone, if you're just used to being able to come in and say, I make a certain amount of money, please come on a date with me, then it's going to feel pretty aggressive.
Thank you for that. T, question for you. If women's standards rise, is the answer better men, better preparation, better healing, or is the answer lower your standards?
The answer is not, like I said, these questions are very societal. So that's, it's hard to say. the thing is, all I'm saying is that when a woman rises in stature, especially like if she's a CEO of a company, that you have to have masculine qualities. You have to be very stoic. You have to stay up long hours of the night. You don't have time to stay at home and child rear, and you have to be very competitive, most likely with other men.
Okay, thank you. All right, Gabrielle, question. If feminism is helping, why are so many people saying dating feels more hostile now than it did 10 or 15 years ago?
I don't think feminism has anything to do with the dating as a whole, because if we expand the view out of the Black community, everybody is struggling with dating across the board. I think social media has a greater impact, and not just on societal views, just on the ability to connect with more people and to feel like you have more options, and then also the lack of ability to actually have interpersonal connections with people in real life. I think that has more to do than...
Okay, thank you for that. T, last question. Why is it control when women have boundaries, but leadership when men set rules? 30 seconds.
Oh.
If you're talking, we can't hear you.
There's actually, I don't think men don't have an issue with women having boundaries. I think everyone in a relationship should have boundaries. But what I'm saying is that for most functioning relationships, especially when it comes to men and women, if both parties are hyper masculine, very aggressive, this could also explain the reason why that the marriage rates in this country is just so low. There's not a masculine and feminine balance. So like I said,
Right.
we haven't really got into that, but there are differences between the gender.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we have come to our last and final round called Debate or Die. This is our sparring round where it is timed for 5 minutes. So Gabrielle and T, you have a chance to interact respectfully and ask each other questions, not personal questions, but you do have to have a right to chance to ask each other questions, and you can counter and all of that stuff. You have a collective of 5 minutes, not an individual 5 minutes. So I am going to start the counter, and whoever wants to go first, have at it. So you all, before I start the counter, the polls are open for this next topic. It is our debate or die topic. We're streaming live on all social medias. However, you can only vote on the twosidedtruth.com, and the topic for the debate or die topic is open. Go ahead. 5 minutes.
Just the question I have about feminism and relationships and holding men accountable, because I don't understand how that's the case. Especially, with the single motherhood epidemic that is going on with the Black community. I don't understand how feminism addressed that, and maybe you can explain to me how feminism addressing it, and if so, how are they addressing it without addressing the gender roles of men and women?
I mean, in what capacity are you talking about? Like, feminism can't address. Feminism, by definition, is just the equality of social and economic advancement of the sexes. So feminism, by definition, does not help anything else out. It doesn't solve all of the world's problems. So I'm confused on how that's supposed to inherently help relationships or the lack thereof.
So when you say equality, so I'm just going to take, for example, let's say the man is the breadwinner of the relationship, and he gets a woman that, doesn't make as much. So here's where the equality comes in as far as the relationship concerns. Since there's no gender roles, can the woman pretty much do anything she wants? Can the man, tell her, hey, I don't want you, don't stay out late at night. It's going to be dangerous with you. Don't put that outfit on when you go out with your girls. Can a man say that to a woman, or is that sexist?
I mean, I think that depends on every person who's in a relationship. They have to define their own rules within that. If a man wants to tell me what I should wear, we're probably going to have a little bit of a problem because you're not a woman and you don't know how I want to dress. But if, like, two people can decide however you want to be in a relationship, I don't mean equality and, like, we should be able to have equal conversations about things. I should be able to make the same amount of money that you're making, you make the same amount of money that I'm making. That should be great, right? In a household.
But most women, it's been proven, if a modern woman makes the same thing that her husband makes, her respect for that husband goes down. It's been scientifically proven.
If I bear the children, you should also come home and take care of the responsibility of some of the children. If we're both working, we both have to clean up the house. We both have to do certain things. Like, that's the equality of that. Now, whether or not someone is more feminine or more masculine, that is really a personal preference, and it kind of just ebbs and flows between each person. Like, every male and woman has both masculine and feminine qualities. So you have to figure out what that looks like and balance that out between your relationship. So feminism doesn't have one overarching guideline of, like, how you should navigate and what that looks like for yourself.
But that's the problem we're having. So you see, this is the issue I'm having with feminism when it comes to relationships, because now, so there's no gender rules, and we're seeing how this experiment is happening. Like I said, the decline in the marriage rates, the single motherhood epidemic, and I'm not seeing feminism address any of that. So that's what I'm trying to get to, and and also another thing that perturbs me is, there are a lot of women, and I know we all see it, and it seems to be the standard, that women still, on a basic level, want men that they date to protect and provide. Like I said, we're not hearing in this relationship conversation that relationship is 50-50, especially with the bills. A lot of women are turned off. So it's almost as if in this contemporary feminism, it's like women want to do whatever they want, but still hold men to the traditional roles. Like,
Yep.
Do you think that could be a problem for a relationship?
And that's the thing. Like, that's the part of feminism, that you can require or demand whatever it is that you want to demand. Again, every relationship is the same. Every woman is different. I mean, every relationship isn't the same, and every woman is different. They're going to have different ideologies and what their expectations are for that. If a woman wants to go 50-50 on bills, then guess what? She has the option to go 50-50 on bills, or she has the option to say, hey, honey, you're going to pay all the bills, right? But if you pay all the bills, then I will take care of all the kids, and I'll do all the grocery shopping, and I'll pay all the bills, right? Like, no relationship looks exactly the same. They'll never look exactly the same. And whatever gender rules you want to have, you can define that. No one's taking that away. But
that's got to bear out in statistics. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, just think about what you're saying. The woman is bringing a lot of money home. The man is too. The money is combined. Yet, why is the relationship rate still failing? Like, we should have been able to solve that economic issue.
All right, you all. Thank you so much. That round is complete. Okay, now, I have to say this. You all did such a great job. I do want to read some of these comments. We're coming to a close, but while we're coming to a close, the polls are still open for just a few more seconds, rather. We're coming to a close, but I do want to read some of these comments on the Two-Sided Truth wall as well, the chat area and the Two-Sided Truth. So, let's see. Demetrius says, how can she pretend that women being educated has helped the black community? As women are becoming more educated, the community is falling apart faster. Jeff says, fragility doesn't equate to balance. People keep stressing economic stability and bypassing cognitive thinking constructs. A man may make less, but be the better thinker and decision maker. Reggie says the biggest complaint black high-value men have is the black woman today lack the submissiveness and softness of women of other cultures.
Bingo.
They're saying they don't have the patience to look for a needle in a haystack.
Right.
Yeah, it's going down. One Reggie also said this is a great topic. One thing we need to remember is that in American culture, men have traditionally been expected to be assertive, but when black men show their assertiveness in a white world, there's backlash.
Yeah,
All of our people, but especially black men, live life balanced on the edge of a razor blade.
pretty
So,
much.
with that being said, we have come to the end of our topics. And even though you both of you all did a wonderful job, of course we do.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. I pray that y'all enjoyed this topic. I hope that y'all learned something from it.